I am the big tank.
On the battlefield of life, nothing's harder than a tank. Yeah, have you ever met a man, hearts full of love, bigger than a tank?
Big tank.
He served in a few wars. He's a veteran that stands for a cause. For the best interviews and news, just keep it glued to the
Tank. I
tank.
am the tank. Big
Big
tank.
Tank Tom.
Tank.
Big Tank Tom.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Big Tank Talk. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing MrTom. MrTom, welcome to Big Tank Talk.
Thanks. I appreciate being here.
And I appreciate you taking the time to be here. So let's just jump right in with both feet. If you could, tell me what first got you into music.
Well, I'll be honest, going way back when I was 7, my grandmother actually used to put me in front of an electric air organ. And she used to have me play melody lines and used to hold up her finger and say, listen. And that started my musical journey. I was able, after that, to develop good relative pitch, as they call it. Basically be able to determine one note or tone from the other. And after the fact now, years later, I play about 18, 19 instruments. So pretty long time going from bands to playing out solo, etc. But she's the main reason why I'm into music.
That's amazing. And I tell you that I'm learning to play guitar now, and it's the only instrument I have any practice on at all. So the fact that you play 19 instruments is very impressive to me.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I started with the obviously electric air organ and then piano, upright piano my parents had. Then I was playing acoustic guitar with just my thumb. My uncle left an acoustic guitar, and this is going way, way back in the day. And he was an acoustic guitarist. And I started playing with my thumb, almost kind of like similar to how Richie Havens back in the Woodstock days, he played with his thumb, and I played in open tunings. And then I started playing synthesizer, and that was my main instrument for a while. And I went back into I went into electric guitar, and then it just kind of progressed after that, going throughout the years.
Well, that's pretty cool. Now you are a songwriter as well, correct?
I am a professional songwriter composer under Performance Rights Organization, Broadcast Music Incorporated, BMI Incorporated. I'm also labeled as a professional self-administered publisher, and that's underneath the Mechanical Licensing Collective, who collect my stream mechanical royalties in conjunction with the Harry Fox Agency, a very old professional mechanical collection agency that's still out and operating today.
That's pretty impressive to me. I don't know what a lot of that means because I'm not in the music business, but it sounds pretty impressive.
Collecting of royalties, basically, in writing music professionally, and both organizations that I listed collect, the first one collects performance-based royalties from larger sinks like movies, radio broadcasts of certain types, theater performances, and performing in live venues. Also, they would collect royalties, performance-based royalties. The other one as a self-administered publisher, the Mechanical License Collective collects stream mechanical royalties that are not being collected by a music distribution company for like an intermediate person, a company that would help you upload your music to Spotify and other stream platforms. If it's not being collected by a music distribution company like DistroKid, TuneCore, etc., then the mechanical license collecting will collect stream mechanical royalties on my behalf as a self-administered publisher and songwriter.
That's pretty cool. Let me ask you, as a as a songwriter and a musician, could you describe your creative process?
Sure. My creative process is twofold. First, I make a determination whether I'm making an acoustic song or making an electric driven song. But both, my main process is I write the chord progression first. I write the chord progression first, and then I write and I sing a melody line. Basically, I sing basically the lyrics in regards to those chords that I come up with. And I also, in addition, I decide before that, what's the song structure going to be? I've talked about this in before. If you go to Wikipedia or if you go to Google and you type in Wikipedia song structure, it will give you a breakdown. Some songs are verse, verse, verse. Johnny Cash's Folsom Prison Blues are AAA's verse, verse, verse song structure. Sometimes a song will be verse, chorus, verse, chorus. Some will be verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus. There's all different song structures. So I decide that before I do even the chord progressions or the lyrics melody line. So the type of music that I'm doing, the overall style, it's going to be acoustic or electric, song structure, chord progressions, chords, and then the melody line, basically the lyrics. And I just work it out that way.
That's awesome. And in my lifetime, I've written one song, and you just taught me something I didn't know, but I can tell you the song that I wrote is in the structure of verse, chorus, verse, chorus.
Yeah, it's interesting. I never really got into all that until I started writing commercially licensed music, not just instrumentals, but like songs for businesses and for, again, media. And that's where I started really studying up, and I came across that. I'm like, I never thought of that. Some things you learn after the fact, even if you've been doing it for years and years and years. And I'm still learning about different things that I've never thought about before.
I tell you, now you and I have known each other for a little while, and I've learned quite a bit just talking music with you. Even though I'm not a music person, I'm just a music lover. So that I have learned a lot talking to you, and I'm hoping that when people view this interview, they'll take away something from it as well.
Awesome.
So as you progressed, or as you've gone through your music career, because you and I are fairly close in age, so you're not a young man anymore. What's been the best advice you've ever been given?
I have two things I can offer. The first thing is something my uncle made reference to, and I paraphrase it. It's not the instrument, it's the person behind it. So, and like I've recently shown, I bought a $100 guitar, and I can use that guitar, it's fine. And I've used guitars and instruments, very inexpensive instruments, to create music and even to collect royalties of that nature. So it's not the instrument, it's the person that makes the music. So that's the first thing. Don't be, I tell people, don't, think you need to invest in $1,000 in equipment to make really good music. And the second thing, and I'll share it with everybody in this interview, is not advice per se, but the actions that both Tommy Hamilton from Aerosmith, who I've met twice, bass player for Aerosmith, and also Ted Nugent. Some people know who he is. He's from the damn Yankees, and he plays solo music. They both treated me with a lot of courtesy and kindness. Ted Nugent, I actually gave a song when I was really starting out. It was on cassette tape, so we're going back a little bit of ways. But they showed me to, no matter how high up level you get up in the music business, treat people with professional courtesy and kindness. It doesn't matter how low down, like myself, was at the time to always treat people with kindness and respect. And that's something that I tried to pay forward. I've also, in the same area, and I've told this before to people, is that I've had many notable people that I can't talk about because of non-disclosure agreements help me out in the music business. And I was going to quit, and I try to pay that forward by helping out other people for free. So that's what I can give for the best advice and simple examples that have been shown to me on how to portray myself going forward as a songwriter, composer, self-administered publisher, and performance artist.
Well, at MrTom, I have to tell you, like I mentioned before, I'm not a music person. You know that but yet when I've asked questions, you never disrespect me. You've always shown me great respect and done your best to fully answer whatever question I'm asked. So obviously, those pieces of advice have stuck with you for a long time, and I have a lot of respect for you.
I appreciate that. I'll tell you, you keep saying you're a music lover. However, you're learning the guitar. So learning the guitar, you know some chords and some other things on the guitar right now. What about a year from now? How about 5 years from now? I'm sure that you'll keep on progressing, just like I have. It takes time. The music business is a hard business to be in. I've said that before to a lot of people, and it takes time. And just because you or other people are a certain area just starting out in their journey doesn't mean that you can't go way above what I've done in music. More to the point, and I've said this before, and I truly mean this, is I hope that the help that I give anybody, whether it's you or anybody else out there, you go farther than I have in music. It just takes time and a lot of time and perseverance. And that's my true hope for everybody in regards to music, that you go farther than I have. I've been really blessed along the ways to have the opportunities of working with people, having sponsorships and endorsements from music gear companies. And what I've achieved, anybody can achieve. It just takes time, like everything, lots of time and patience.
Oh, absolutely. Now, I have a couple of questions that are like what if type questions, if you don't mind. First
Okay.
one I'd like to ask you is, um, well, first I need to ask you, have you done any touring in your years?
I used to tour a minor club circuit in the New England area and tri-state. That was many years ago. I was in a cover band at the time, different cover bands from the late 80s to early 2000s. And I played some clubs that many notable acts came through. I never saw those particular acts because I wasn't playing on stage at the same time as they were. But there's some clubs that played BB King. There's some, and I stood in the same kind of a surreal experience when you're standing on the same stage that other famous people have once stood. There were Jewel was another one. I remember seeing her in the marquee and saying, "Jewel, who's that?" I have no idea. I'd never heard of that band before, and it turned out to be she was coming on through and very early in her career. The other people I would see on the marquee is the James Taylor's brothers, Livingston, I think his name was, and there's another gentleman, and I should remember his name. I slightly forget. So I did that, and then after the early 2000s, up in the New England area, I played for a short time in the southeastern portion of New England area, acoustic guitar, doing original music for a short time. Then after that, when I moved down to South Carolina, I've been down here for over 15 years now. I basically have been writing commercially licensed music. But I'm starting to get out there again. I'm starting to play around small venues here in the state. That's where I'm doing going forward, kind of.
Okay, now I asked that question to ask these questions. The first one, if you could choose, and it doesn't have to be genre specific, But if you could choose to open for anyone in the business, who would it be?
That's really tough. There's many people that it would be awesome to open up for. I would I would say I would like to open up for on the acoustic side for James Taylor. I've seen him twice in concert. James Taylor, when he plays the guitar, and a lot of people don't know this, and it fascinates the heck out of me. He splits his mind. He finger picks chord progressions, chords, but yet he's singing differently than what he's playing for chords, if that makes sense. He splits his mind to go, he's doing certain things he's doing certain things on his fretting hand and playing chords and going from one into the other and singing totally different, not in sync, yet they sound the same. And it's the most, and to me, that's something that I have not yet to be able to achieve. I can play fingerpick, obviously, but it's how he does it. It fascinates me. So opening up for him and having the chance to talk to him in the process, in between sets, maybe that would probably be the first choice. And he's incredible. Even right now, he's incredible when he plays out.
Yeah, and I'm a lifelong fan of James Taylor, so I definitely respect that answer. The other question is similar to it, but the other question is, if you had the opportunity, who would you collaborate with?
I would have to say, if I was going to collaborate with any band, with any members, I would probably, my first band that I really loved and I really got into was the Cars. The Cars, that's another older band. I met Benjamin Orr back in the 2000s before he passed away, about a couple of years before he passed away to pancreatic cancer. And nice guy, again, professional courtesy. But I'd love to him, if he was still alive, or Rico Kasich. He's another gentleman that recently passed away. Elliot Easton or Greg Hawkes. Any of those members I would love to collaborate with for famous people. I tried to get a hold of some of them. The last and David Robinson was the drummer. But I try to get a hold of each one of them, and some people are harder to get a hold of than others. So, and I'm saying that not facetiously either. But that's who. They're my first huge influence, I think, for bands. And way back in the day, I used to listen to them a lot, and I still do.
Oh, I love the Cars, and they hit as I was finishing high school. So,
Yep.
I couldn't think of a better choice you could make than the Cars. And when you name the names of the members of the band, they were not unfamiliar to me.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Even in cover bands, when I was in cover bands first start. Now that's what we used to play a lot from their first album, because they're rock and they're also new wave. They're a common, and there was a first band, and they had a little bit of country influence too in some of the songs. There's like 2 or 3 songs that actually had a country twang to them, and both Rico Kasich and Benjamin Orr, they go back ways. They were even in a folk band called Milkwood back in the day. But yeah, they are probably the most favorite band. And again, in retrospect, thinking again, I haven't thought about this in a long time, Tank, is probably the reason why I play so many electric instruments than I do, like electric guitar, electric bass guitar and stuff, and synthesizer, is because of them. Because I love their music so much, and I liked how they were both rock and new wave. That's why I picked up all those initially on the electronic side of the fence.
That's awesome, and I just knew they were good. I couldn't tell you a lot of that stuff you just said about them, but I've been a Cars fan, since their debut album. So now let me ask you: you've been making music a long time. I know you've answered what got you into music. What inspires you to keep making music now?
Um, it's funny that you say that. Honestly, I think, back in the day, it was funny. It was bands that I was inspired by, like the Cars again. But now it's actually other people, other people that are starting out and are playing and even being on social media of certain types out there. It's people that I see they're in music and still myself the ability to be able to write music and sing and go out there, after all these years and go forward again. I think it's people that are out there that I see either have been doing it or just starting out and everywhere in between. I think it's people who inspire me the most because they're going forward and pursuing music, and regardless of how old I am, or how many years I've been doing this, um, I push forward because I can still do it, and the self-realization of that. Um, um, but it's other people that inspire me. Everyday people that I see playing music and getting out there and doing incredible things. Um, that's my inspiration, to be honest with you.
That's outstanding. Um, let's change gears a little bit. And you're probably among the people I've interviewed among the most uniquely suited to answer this question. Having said that, if you could change anything about the music business, what would you do? What would you change?
The first thing right off the bat, and it's going to be a popular one with people that are collecting stream mechanical royalties, is basically increase the royalties to the actual songwriters. It's a long time coming. The reason why the music industry won't do that is because it's the music industry with new songwriters coming out all the time is oversaturated. So they would be having a huge loss of revenue, even more so than they are now, with the way things are now. But if I was going to change everything, though, regardless of that, give more to the songwriter, composers out there that are writing music so they can collect more. Because right now, like stream mechanical royalties, if you're on Spotify, you collect less than 1 cent per play. A lot of people don't know that. Some people do. I would increase that up to at least so they can see something significant, especially people who are just starting out, um, that can't afford heavy promotion and synthetic views and all that other stuff that goes with heavy promotion companies trying to promote all these current artists. If you're popular artist out there, and you're touring and everything, well, you have usually either record company or management company that's promoting you, that's spending that money. New independent artists don't have that. So it's all you going forward.
Yeah, I can understand that. And that's a lot of work for potentially little reward.
Yeah. But it's the small steps you do that increase the biggest outcomes, I find. Um, the smallest steps that you can do playing out somewhere. I told a few people out there, like on YouTube, I have, when I release a song, like to Spotify through my music distribution partners, if I get, you know, a few hundred people on YouTube that listen to that song, then those are real organic views. That's not any synthetic views that are generated from anywhere. That's a small win in my book. So small gains equals big outcomes. And that's the name of the game when you really look at things.
That makes sense to me, actually. Um, So let me ask you this. For any MrTom fans out there, or are aspiring performers even, what message would you give?
MrTom, if there's MrTom fans out there, I'd appreciate you listening to my music on streaming music platforms and even YouTube. Um, depending on what platform you're on, if you listen to my music on stream music platforms, that helps me out the most, and I appreciate that. Um, because every single listen, whether it's less than 1 cent or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just you doing that generates a lot for me, and I can see those metrics. And I have a lot of tools at my disposal to see those metrics. For people, up and coming musicians, the message that I can tell you is you will want to quit multiple times in your career in music, and it happens to the best of us. Don't do that. Write out a plan, write out a flow chart on a piece of paper or your computer. And if things aren't working for you, go back to square one and say, okay, I'm going to change something because it's not satisfying what I'm doing going forward. And I've done this multiple times, and I've switched from writing instrumental music to writing songs to a combination to doing single songs, albums, everything under the sun, playing live and not playing live. So write things down, what you're trying to do, and if something's not working, revisit that and go forward and don't quit. It's a hard business to be in, trust me.
Well, I understand. Um, Now, a question, just a personal question, I guess. When you're performing, what's your favorite song to perform?
When I'm performing, it's whatever song that I originally wrote. Um, there's a lot of them out there that I've written over the years. I probably my most um, favorite song to play is This Old Guitar. That's my most favorite one. It's about me almost selling one of my oldest guitars and then not selling it, and how long I played it. And I sing it in a verse, verse, verse style. It's very similar to a Johnny Cash type style. And I like performing that. It makes me feel, um, it makes me feel good when I'm performing it out there in that sort of old singer songwriter tradition. You know, that's probably my most favorite. Definitely.
I don't know that I've heard it, but I'm going to have to look for it now. It is on the streaming platforms, isn't it?
It is not. No,
It
sir,
is
it's
not.
not. What I did is I pulled down a few years, say about 3 years back, I pulled down an album because I did not like how I recorded it in retrospect. And just for a tip, any type of album you release to stream platforms, excuse me, you can request to the music distribution company to pull down that music, and they have to comply with that. So they pulled it down. So I will record the song and I will re-release it, and that's one of the songs I am planning to release this year. Is This Old Guitar?
That is one I'm definitely going to look for then.
Yep.
Just a couple more questions, MrTom.
Yes, sir.
The next question, and maybe not as an important one to you. Like I say, you've been doing this for a long time, but what's your biggest fear?
In relation to music, is that
Yes,
the
sir.
question? Okay. In relation to music, what my biggest fear is to stop, not having the ability to play anymore. This came, a lot of people don't know this about me. I actually have a partial disability in my right hand. I don't know if you can see it. I actually completely tore both ligaments in my wrist. I was on a work site doing another lines of work that I do, which we're not going to talk about here in regards to privacy. But I almost was going to be able to play guitar anymore That's how bad it is. And I have mobility issues with this hand. A lot of people don't know that. I rehabilitated myself, and I was able, through the grace of God, to be able to play guitar again, strum, and fingerpick. That was another thing I was really, and that actually, and the doctors think that actually helped me in rehabilitation is my fingerpicking, which is incredible. But that's one of my greatest fears, is not being able to play anything. Is probably my biggest fears. Um, I will retire from doing certain playing out maybe, or this or that, but the ability not to play anything at some point in my life, that's one of my biggest fears in regards to music.
Well, I can definitely understand that. One more question, and then I'll close it out. Uh, what does the future hold for MrTom?
Um, Going forward this year and the next year, playing out original music live, different venues, small to medium venues here in South Carolina. I started doing that this year. I have a new venue that I'm playing at the end of the month, which is it should be a pretty good experience. Also, writing a small album using only using four 6-channel 4-track tape recorder that I still have. I have an old Tascam. It still works. I even have a tape degauser for it, the whole 9 yards. And I'm going to write a small album using just cassette tape, and I'm going to do analog, what they call analog to digital. So on the tape, and then master it on my computer. But the source is going to be cassette tape, which I still have, and they're very expensive now, I found out, but I still have some chrome tapes I'm going to be using for mastering and doing that. And that's probably going to be my last album. That's probably going to be in 2025, and that's probably going to be my last retail album that I make.
Well, that's fantastic, MrTom, and I'm looking forward to the end results coming in the future, because I anticipate being able to find it at some point. Now, at this point, I'm done asking questions, and what I have begun to do now with my interview guests is to offer them the opportunity to do a shout out of their own choosing. It can be people, it can be something you've released. What you shout out is entirely up to you. I'm just giving you this opportunity.
I'd like to thank certain people in social media because, again, they are the primary reinforcing effort. You, Big Tank, is one, and I appreciate your professional courtesy today in regards to this interview. The second would be Iante Moro from Clapper, as you know. There's another lady, Ashmar, Ashmar Living. That's another one I would like to do a shout out for. There's many people over there on Clapper that have really supported me. And I probably wouldn't be doing as much as I'm doing if it wasn't for them. They're always going forward and supporting me in the background. So I appreciate that. I try to be humble as I possibly can, and I try to show that forward. And that's one thing I would like to shout out to is I always say this, and I want to be clear. I am not perfect, and I don't think anybody is out there, but I am, I make mistakes, and I try to be as positive as possible and help people out. And I listen to everybody in regards to music. And that's my only shout outs that I really have at this time. But I do appreciate you in your interview. I usually do not get requests for interviews or anything like that. I usually try to stay in the background, and that's just the way I try to portray myself, is be as humble as I possibly can. And it's just been a long time I've been doing this on the music side.
Well, MrTom, I'll tell you why I definitely wanted to ask you for an interview. you have a lot of knowledge, and I believe people can benefit from your wisdom and from your years of learning the trade, as it were. I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me today. I will.
Yes, sir.
I will say this to my viewers: if you feel like there's more questions I should have asked Mr. Tom, please put them in the comments. I read all comments. I comment back as I need to or as I'm inspired to. If you have a question for Mr. Tom, I will direct those to him, or perhaps he'll come into the comment section and answer directly. I want to thank you, sir. I want to thank you, sir, for taking the time to be with me. And
you're welcome.
Please, friends, like this interview and subscribe. But there's more great stuff coming. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.